Hey Vlad, Sergio here from Sydney, Australia.
And you did something really quite extraordinary, what, just a week and a half ago. Can you describe what it was?
Well, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, we actually did a stunt down in our federal parliament, capital, in Canberra. And the point that I was trying to make was that I was really getting sick and tired of the double standards that's creeping into Australia when it comes to Islam and how everyone's afraid of discussing the issue about full face coverings, i.e., burqas, niqabs, and to the point that it's just PC once again rules the roost, and as soon as you talk about it, you're a bigot, you're a racist, etc., etc. And as you know, in the last 4 years, I've been discussing the issue about burqas openly and trying to do it so we're allowed to still have a civil conversation about the topic. But the idea that I had was that what would happen if I picked another costume that was just as disgusting as the niqab and the burqa, and what would the security do within Parliament House compared to the rules that they put in place, being that technically they would allow anyone into Parliament House with any form of full face covering, purely to stop the argument about niqabs and burqas being stopped at the gate through security. So my idea was, let's find a garment that's horrific. So I commissioned a local fashion person here in Newtown to make me a Ku Klux Klan costume, and he did a wonderful job. So we headed down to our capital, and one of us in a motorbike helmet with the lower half of the niqab, and then one of the other people. We were all three guys this time because we left the girls out of it just for security reasons. We didn't know how it would pan out, so we didn't want the girls to get into an issue. So Nick was in a niqab, Victor was in the motorbike helmet, and I was in the Ku Klux Klan costume. And we headed to our Parliament House, knowing that we'd already kind of set up the media effectively with a few leaks, and we headed up there, and it achieved what we wanted. We got heaps and heaps of PR, and for the first time in 4 years, it actually ended up being quite positive. That people actually saw the point of what I was making, and excuse the pun. The point was that joke started going around afterwards.
So, first of all,
So,
when you say you achieved what you wanted, what exactly did you want that you achieved?
well, firstly, it was that everyone was shocked, and and everyone did exactly what I thought they would do. They were disgusted about the Ku Klux Klan costume, and that proved the point that everyone, as within Australia anyway, has a clear ability with no restrictions into saying this garment is inappropriate, it represents something horrific, and we just don't like it. So the irony there is that if it's about white people and not to do with Islam, but in this case, let's say Christianity, it's okay to discuss it and to bag it and to be disgusted. But as soon as you talk about a black garment without a pointy hat and it's Islamic, PC rules and you can't say a thing.
So, of the three of you, with the tinted motorcycle helmet, the Klan outfit, and the burqa, did any of them get into the building?
Okay. As soon as we got up to the security, and of course the media at that point had already bailed us up, and we'd be basically took half an hour to get to the entrance of the building. So security actually had a fair bit of time to, suss out what they were going to do.
Oh, what a shame.
But no, that's all right because that's okay because they had to deal with the situation. So because we weren't trying to be disruptive or difficult for the people working at Parliament House. That wasn't our intention. In actual fact, like we didn't even try to get into the chambers because there was actually a memorial for an old prime minister, and we didn't want to disrupt that either, because that wasn't our aim. Our aim was to show what happens when we challenge security, where supposedly they will allow one form of garment in, but not others, although they said all garments could be worn into Parliament House because there's no discrimination. But we proved that otherwise, because as soon as we got to the entrance to security, they said, sorry, no motorbike helmets, full stop. Then they asked me to take the Ku Klux Klan costume off because that's cultural, it's not religious. So I thought, okay. But I had that, I had an idea they'd try something like that. So I took my pointy hat off and I had my niqab top on.
Fantastic. And
so I basically said to them, well, this is going to cause you a problem. And the security guy, I was watching him because, again, we were trying to be humorous and never to put them in a position of being shamed or made to look stupid. That was never our intention. And of course, because we were hamming it up to a certain degree, they could see that we were being, it wasn't like a really nasty political stunt. It was just factual that they're following the rules. Okay, motorbike helmets, balaclavas that conceal someone's face are not allowed into Parliament House. Full stop. You're not allowed in the entrance. But me in a niqab top and Nick in a niqab top, knowing they were males, they allowed us in. But following the rules that both men and women need to do inside, that they had to be identified. Now, they did the same thing to us as they probably would have done to the females. And they took us into a side room and asked us to take the veil off to identify. But at that point, they decided, can you take the rest of it off full stop? Because we don't want you to be inside with the niqab. So at that point, we proved the point there was hypocrisy, that if you're a male in a niqab, you're not allowed to be in there. If you're a Muslim woman in a niqab or a burqa, you're allowed to walk around the highest seat of our parliament in a disguise. Any other garment, no way. No, but we do have a history that balaclavas and motorbike helmets are used in acts of crime, especially in petrol stations and banks. So that's another thing we did after the Parliament House. We actually took our costumes down to the Commonwealth Bank in Canberra, and we did the same thing that we'll talk about in a minute. So the serious issue about security is there, that they don't like people running around not being seen. Now, I've made the point that, okay, they could identify a Muslim woman in a niqab or a burqa, supposedly, at security, but there's nothing stopping them swapping the garment with someone else afterwards when they're in the building. So, 5 women could all of a sudden become 5 men after they've gone through security. So, they're the issues that still need to be discussed. And of course, we keep pushing the point that here we are, men in burqas and niqabs. So if we can do it, anyone can do it. So I keep making the point every time I can, and especially when we get the media in such an effective way, that even if you remove Islam and Muslim women from the garment, you still have a garment that disguises anyone that's in it. So the fact is that a pedophile can easily be in one of these garments and can easily walk around anywhere and can easily go into bathrooms and can easily rape or injure a child. And for me, there's no reason we should allow any child to be raped or injured for the sake of 200 or even 2,000, Muslim women in Australia wearing niqabs or burqas. It's not worth the value. It's not worth the consequence. Yeah, the Muslim grooming gangs are out of control. And, the thing is, we haven't been able to prove it one way or another. Is it happening in Australia? It probably more than likely is. I mean, pack rapes by Muslim men in Australia had happened. The Scaff brothers were a good example of the beginning of the brainwashing of the first generation of Lebanese Muslim men that believed that they were above our, ethical standards, and that, white Australian girls were trash and they could be gang raped. And, that was the time that I thought, we should reintroduce the death penalty in Australia, full stop, because it was so black and white. And that was from the 90s. So the problems got worse, from gang rapes to now almost daily shootings out west by Muslim groups, to the drug cartels. There was a senior Islamic member that just got arrested for drugs in Western Australia and Perth. So, bit by bit, the truth's coming out about how corrupt members of this ideology are, and how they don't like fitting into our ethical and legal standards in Australia.
Actually, I've seen quite a few videos by Muslim leaders in Australia, especially since the announcement of the creation of the Islamic State, that show that a state of war exists, and just Australia hasn't admitted to it yet.
Oh, yeah, the PC side of it is just ridiculous. Even the day that the Muslims get away with a terrorist attack, because it has to be made very clear, they have attempted more than 4 times to commit major terrorist attacks in Australia. They have been stopped. So our police are doing a wonderful job in stopping these things. But there will be a day that it does happen. And of course, the typical thing will happen. All the apologists will come out. All the Muslim groups will come out straight away saying, we are going to be the victims of this, etc., etc. And they've got a textbook. They use it every single time, and it's really, really boring, because our quality of life is changing. Just like what's happened in Canada, the Muslims there got away with what was actually stopped here in Sydney. But I really hate to think what will happen the day they get away with something in Australia. I don't think Australians in general will have put up with this crap much longer.
I sincerely hope you're right. I wish Canadians wouldn't put up with it, but I think Canadians have suffered a greater sense of loss of identity. So what happened when you went to the bank?
That was hilarious. So after the Parliament House done, we made our way into Canberra Central, and then we did the same thing, and the media was following us as well. And so the bank staff, and I want to make it clear, all banks and petrol stations in Australia have these stickers on the front door prohibiting people in motorbike helmets from entering the premises. And that's for security reasons and video documentation reasons. And that's been the same all my life. It's not something new. So here we go. We enter, Nick in the burqa, myself in the Ku Klux Klan, and we walk into the bank. They don't do a thing. When Victor tries to get in with the motorbike helmet, oh, no, you can't do that. And we're inside going, what's going on? How can you allow us as males in these garments into this bank, but you don't let a motorbike helmet in here? And the only thing they were really worried about was the cameras, the TV cameras from professional journalists, pointing into the bank, saying that that's a security breach because the cameras are shooting into the bank. It's just twisted, really, really, really twisted.
It's wonderland. It's through the looking glass.
That's why now I think we've hit the right note with trying to take this on. Like the next day, we were on TV, the 2 stations, 7 and 10. And that was a really good opportunity to make our comments be heard a lot more. And we saw it shift, because compared to what the media was doing to me about the Say No to Burqa mural 4 years ago, to what we achieved to discuss the next day was amazing. And as well, I've had more practice. So when the TV announcers made a statement, their comment statement, aren't we ashamed of what we're doing to these Muslim women? And, the burqa and niqab are a religious attire. And we just said, you're wrong. You know, you've got your facts wrong, and you've got to learn more. And it's not by, you know, talking to a Muslim. Read the Quran, get your facts and points right. And so that's the first time, you know, we've been able to control the topic because it was live and they couldn't edit it, and we managed to say they were wrong. So, and the producers of the TV stations were actually very complimentary because the social media side was working very, very effectively for them. So from the perspective of ratings and how people interacted with the station, it was positive. How we interacted with some of the presenters, you know, we called them out for being silly, and hopefully they'll be asking better questions next time or become a little bit more educated next time. No, not straight away, because they're still all running for cover until there's a terrorist attack and someone actually in a niqab or burqa, or there actually is a pedophile rape of a child, and it's, you know, hard evidence. I think they're all going to be too gutless. Although we are showing that freedom of expression now in Australia is starting to win over political correctness. And I think what's happening, like this Saturday, someone's borrowed my Ku Klux Klan costume, and a friend of mine's actually quite sick and tired of wearing a black niqab, so he's actually ordered a pink one and a purple one. And one of them is actually a typical Afghan style mesh unit as well. The group that we've got that we call ourselves Faceless, that's made up of different age groups, different racial backgrounds, and actually very different political backgrounds as well. But we've all united behind the fact that Islam is dangerous and the niqab and burqa are inappropriate in Australia. And I think a group of them have actually got something planned this Saturday at a cultural festival to basically show how stupid these garments are. So they'll be walking around in mass in all these different varieties of costumes. Yeah, but we both know that the niqab and the burqa are basically used as the national emblem or the flag of the ISIS mentality. It is the symbol that creates division, us against, and that's what it is. Well, it's you know, the niqab and the burqa, like now, you know, ISIS is condemning the poor women of Syria and Iraq into wearing burqas and niqabs. So those women, just like in Afghanistan, had no choice and will have no choice in the future. While the ridiculous small number of women that are playing the political Islamic card in Australia, as they are in Canada and elsewhere, you know, it is an emblem to them. It is their flag, greater than the hijab, to create a division within society, us against them. And the more people pick on that item, the more that they can play the victim and the more they can play the lefty lunatic political game. And of course, multiculturalism is a huge crime in itself. Like, I grew up in the Australia of assimilation and integration. You know, it didn't matter where you came from. There's no issue about race here. It doesn't matter what you look like, skin color, or etc. It comes down to that you move to a place like Canada or Australia and you adopt the quality of life and the freedoms that that country gives you. These people in these death sacks that want to be more orthodox in the sense of their, you know, Muhammad style lifestyle, you know, they're never going to believe in democracy. They're not going to believe in our legal system. And so, you know, they're making a mock. Well, they're not making a mockery. We're making a mockery of our own system by allowing them to do what they want to do. That is in itself against our own system. So, you know, now these days I push the line constantly. We, the tolerant, should never be so tolerant that we tolerate the intolerant. And that's what's happening. You know, we're just bending over to a bunch of fools that are laughing their heads off because they're walking all over us. Lots. And I think the point we're making now is the humor with everything that we do. We've even got black burkas, 6 green burkas. So we're going to have a game of footy, the black sacks against the green sacks, and it'll probably be the Mr. KKK that'll be the ref. So yeah, just we're going to ham it up, and well, that's a great idea. We could have a pig as a mascot, and just continue just having fun with this. And the more that they get cheesed off, and the more they act violently, the more that we're showing that they don't really fit in because they have no sense of humor. Because if we did exactly the same thing, even with about the Dalai Lama or any other cultural background or religion, everyone would see it as a joke. But when it comes to Islam, there is no joke.